Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. You know, it's wild to think about. 1% of people control almost half the world's wealth. We see the mansions, the private jets, the empires, and we can't help but wonder, does all that money buy safety, peace of mind? Unfortunately, history shows us it doesn't always. Today, we're taking a sober look at 10 incredibly successful people whose fortunes couldn't protect them from sudden, violent tragedy. These are real stories that shook the world, and I've dug into the latest details right up to 2026 to bring you the most accurate picture possible. We'll go from number 10 all the way to number 1. Stick around till the end for some final thoughts. Let's get into it. Number 10. Selena Quintanilla Perez. Back in the early 90s, Selena was the undisputed queen of Tejano music, a vibrant young star from Texas whose voice and energy were captivating fans across Latin America and beyond. By her early 20s, she had built a passionate following, launched successful boutiques, and was on the verge of even bigger international success. Tragically, on March 31, 1995, she was fatally shot by Yolanda Saldivar, the president of her own fan club, during what was supposed to be a business meeting at a hotel in Corpus Christi. Saldivar had been suspected of mishandling funds from the fan club and the boutiques. Selena was just 23 years old. At the time of her death, her net worth was around $10 million. Saldivar was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. As of early 2025, she remains behind bars in Texas. Her parole request was denied, with the next review set for 2030. Selena's music and legacy, though, live on stronger than ever, inspiring new generations. Number 9. Christopher George Latour Wallace, better known as the Notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Smalls. This East Coast rap legend exploded onto the scene in the mid-90s with timeless tracks like Juicy and Big Papa. At just 24, he was already a cultural icon, navigating the intense East Coast-West Coast rap rivalry while trying to bridge divides after Tupac Shakur's death the year before. But on March 9, 1997, after leaving a party in Los Angeles, Biggie was killed in a drive-by shooting. His murder remains unsolved to this day. No arrests have been made, even with ongoing investigations and recent documentaries revisiting old leads and theories. At the time, his estate was valued at roughly $20 million. Biggie's influence on hip-hop is massive and enduring, but the questions around his death still linger. Number 8. Richard Oland. The Oland family name is basically royalty in Canadian brewing. They've run Moosehead breweries since the 1860s. Richard, though, had stepped away from the family business to build his own success in trucking and investments. By 2011, at 69 years old, he was worth about 37 million Canadian dollars. On July 7th of that year, he was found dead in his St. John office. His son Dennis was charged and faced 2 trials, but in 2019 he was acquitted due to insufficient evidence. The case has never been solved, and as of 2026, it remains open with no new arrests. It's a story that still haunts the community and the family. Number 7. Adolph Coors III. As the heir to the Coors Brewing Company, Adolph was chairman and CEO, carrying forward one of America's most recognizable beer empires. On February 9, 1960, while driving to work near Morrison, Colorado, the 45-year-old was kidnapped for ransom. The perpetrator, an escaped convict named Joe Corbett, hoped to use the $500,000 demand to stay on the run. Sadly, Adolph was killed before any payment could be made. His body was later discovered, and Corbett was eventually arrested in Canada, extradited, tried, and convicted. He served less than 20 years before parole. The case remains one of Colorado's most infamous kidnappings turned murders, even 66 years later. Number 6. John Lennon. One of the most influential musicians of all time, co-founder of the Beatles, solo artist, peace activist. By 1980, at 40 years old, Lennon had a net worth estimated around $200 million and was enjoying a creative resurgence in New York. On December 8th, outside his apartment building at the Dakota, he was shot and killed by Mark David Chapman, a fan who later said he acted out of a desire for notoriety. Chapman was arrested at the scene and has been serving a sentence of 20 years to life. He's been denied parole multiple times, most recently in 2025, with the next hearing scheduled for 2027. Lennon's music and message of love continue to resonate worldwide. His loss is still felt deeply. Number 5. Gianni Versace. The Italian fashion visionary who turned his name into a global luxury empire. By the late 90s, Versace's bold, celebrity-driven designs had revolutionized the industry, and his company was valued at over $800 million. On July 15, 1997, at age 50, he was fatally shot outside his Miami Beach mansion by Andrew Cunanan, who was on a cross-country spree. Cunanan took his own life 8 days later. The motive for targeting Versace has never been fully explained. Versace's sister, Donatella, carried the brand forward, and his influence on fashion is as strong today as it was then. Number 4. Edouard Stern. This French investment banker built a billion-dollar fortune after selling his family's bank and launching his own firm. He was well-connected, even friends with future President Nicolas Sarkozy. In February 2005, at 50 years old, Stern lost his life during a private encounter with his mistress, Cécile Brassard, in a Geneva hotel room. Brassard was convicted of manslaughter in 2009 and served part of an 8.5-year sentence before parole. She has since expressed deep, lifelong regret. The story made headlines not just for the wealth involved, but for the personal complexities behind it. Number 3. Edmond Safra. A Lebanese-Brazilian banking titan worth around $2.5 billion, Safra built his fortune through international private banking starting in his early 20s. On December 3, 1999, in Monaco, he and one of his nurses perished in a fire deliberately set inside his penthouse apartment. Another nurse, Ted Marr, was convicted of arson causing death and served time until 2007. He has maintained varying accounts over the years. In a twist, as recently as 2025, Marr was convicted in the U.S. on a separate murder-for-hire plot involving his ex-wife and is currently serving additional time while dealing with health challenges. Safra's death sparked all kinds of speculation at the time, but the courts pointed to the nurse's actions. Number 2. Barry and Honey Sherman. This Canadian power couple built an empire through Apotex, one of the largest generic pharmaceutical companies in the world. Barry, 75, and Honey, 70, were worth about $3.2 billion when they were found murdered in their Toronto home on December 15, 2017. Police described it as a targeted attack. Initially thought to be a murder-suicide, the investigation quickly ruled that out. 8 years later, in 2026, the case is still unsolved despite massive rewards from the family, now up to $35 million, and ongoing private probes. Recent court rulings have kept some investigative files sealed to protect the active case. Their children continue pushing for justice while honoring their parents' philanthropic legacy. And number 1. Helene Pastor. Monaco's wealthiest woman at the time, Helene controlled a huge share of the principality's real estate through her family's construction empire, descendants of Italian stonemasons who rose to rival even the royal family in influence. Estimates of her fortune ranged from $3.7 billion to as high as $25 billion. In May 2014, at 77 years old, she and her driver were ambushed and shot in Monaco. Helene survived long enough to describe the attackers before passing away 2 weeks later. The mastermind behind the hit turned out to be Wojciech Janowski, the common-law husband of her daughter Sylvia. He hoped to gain access to the family fortune. Janowski was convicted and sentenced to life in prison in 2018. His appeals were rejected all the way up to France's highest court by 2023. The case exposed tensions within one of Europe's most prominent families. These 10 stories are a stark reminder that no amount of money can guarantee safety or shield us from every risk. Wealth opens doors, sure, but it can also attract danger, envy, or simply bad luck. From music icons to business titans, their legacies live on through their work, their families, and the lessons we draw from their losses. What hits you most about these cases? Have you followed any of them closely? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear. If you found this video informative, give it a like, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more deep dives into history, true stories, and the human side of power. Stay safe out there, everyone. Until next time, take care.